Hello, Sara Star here of Spiritscraft.com, your witch artist and spirit crafter. I am excited today because I got all inspired and decided last night to draw a Sheela Na Gig, which is a Irish church decoration. It is a type of woman that is often carved above church entryways or other important parts of churches. As you enter the church sanctuary or the church door, you would come in and above it would be this carved woman. And it's not just a woman, it's a very strange image. It is usually of a woman with her knees up like this, you know, and her arms spreading her vulva open to expose the deep, cavernous vaginal canal. And often the woman is not in any way indicated to be a young woman. She's indicated to be old, bald, with signs of aging and thinness in her body. And so it's a very curious image, and there's a lot of question on what they mean. Now, some people relate them to continental images of erotic scenes that are meant to be kind of a what not to do, that were, kind of common on the continent. For churches, they were kind of hellish images of sin that you shouldn't do. But in Ireland, these images have been used as the type of thing you would use for a blessing in childbirth. People would rub the vulva as they walked in. They show a lot of deterioration because they have been touched so much by people coming and going from the church. And so there's a lot of curiosity about what they represent, and modern pagans, polytheists, women's spirituality, goddess spiritual worshippers, and witches look to them in their more current and recent usage as images of women's power and rebirth and birth. So I decided to make my own based off of a combination of styles I had seen. Some had wings, some had foliage, plants and vines growing out of their vaginas. Some had their hands pulling the vulva wide open. Others had, big ears or different types of things. Then I decided to make it more decorative. And I was just so inspired last night that I started drawing. And so I just kind of draw in my notebook like this. And I just drew it. And then I knew I wanted it to be a circle shape. It's going to be really hard to see this, but I'll have a darker one here in a second. And so I drew this just lightly with pencil, casually, while watching a movie about witches called Witch, which was very scary, and I really liked it, by the way, and had a very folk element, fairy tale element to it. And so then I, was going to do it on one of these round plaques, and so I paint those first with a white primer called gesso. And you get that all over there. It takes several layers. Sometimes you need to sand in between. I don't like to sand in between because I like a little bit of grit for my paint to stick to, a little tooth. So I did that, and then I made a photocopy of the picture, and then I took some of this carbon paper, which is actually made with graphite, so it's like a pencil almost, just spread out on the paper. And then I traced my picture, I made a photocopy of it, and I traced it onto this plaque. So then I will be able to have, finish the tracing and take the picture off. And I forgot to move the paper down. I just reused this. This has been used to make several different paintings and icons. I forgot to move it down so there's a missing spot, which is, you know, actually kind of good that I made a little mistake to show you something. And then she's going to be, you know, she's on the plaque. So my next step, which I'll show you, you know, later on another video, will be to start painting her. I got excited about doing some magical art because I had gone to the Esoteric Book Conference and picked up a book that, you know, it's called a sex magic book. It's called Magica Sexualis, Sexual Practices for Magical Power. I got excited and got this book because when I flipped through, I noticed a lot about magic art. And you don't find a lot about that. I actually only have 2 or 3 other books about it. And this one is very special because the original piece was written in the mid to late 1800s, and then it was translated and elaborated upon in, I think, the 1920s. And it has some really special things going on. First off, the original author, Paschal Beverly Randolph, was an African-American man who was the head of, or very high up in his own Rosicrucian order called Brotherhood of Ulysses. And then, even cooler, it was translated from a handwritten manuscript in the 1920s by a French woman who was also a member of occult orders named Maria de Naglowska. And so this book has some elaboration beyond what he originally wrote that comes from a woman's point of view. And some of the most exciting elaboration is about the practices for charging the art and magnetizing it, as they called it back then. There was a very interesting thing, and the reason that I got so excited about this is because the brother Charsa, who discovered the technique for enlivening paintings, did so. Initially he was investigating, he was researching, and he couldn't quite figure it out. And then he encountered an iconographer who painted his own images of Mary, the Madonna, that were rumored to be completely enchanted. And in fact, they weren't enchanted with Mary, the Virgin, they were enchanted with a succubus. And so Brother Charsa had to find out why. And so he went looking into the story, and he went to meet the painter of the icon. Now that's something I think I'm going to run and get you an icon so you get an idea of what it might have looked like. Let's see here. So this here is an icon that I made of the saint and goddess Breja of Ireland. She's the patron of Ireland, and she is believed by the Irish people I met there to be Ireland itself, the body of the land. And that's why she has a green mantle, and why she is representation of all that is fruitful, healing, and good, because Ireland's an amazing, amazing place. Heaven on earth. And so I got very inspired reading this because the brother Charsa determined that the iconographer painted his icons in his bedroom, like I do most of the time, and that because he painted them in his bedroom, they were charged with his focuses and passions that happened in his bedroom. And since the iconographer painted his girlfriend as the model for the Madonna, and made love with his girlfriend in his room next to the easel, and actually made the icon out of the linens that they had slept on by chance, because he was impoverished and didn't want to spend money on canvas. I just related to the whole story. I have conserved at times in my life on canvas and wood and painted on alternate materials. I often sleep with my art right in my bed. I dream of the spirits I paint. I have visions of them in my room. The whole room is a temple to those spirits. And so they really happened upon something. But this happens all the time. Artists paint in their room all the time. They paint things they're passionate about and that they dream about. Why did this icon become enlivened when others hadn't? Well, the brothers of Lucis determined that it had to do with the gold leaf that was encasing the picture. They determined that certain materials keep the magnetism or passions and energy and power that are collected in them. And so something like an icon like this that has gold on it may have additional occult properties that empower it. And so they worked off of that, and their paintings that they do need to have gold frames. And then there's a bunch of additional things that they added. For example, they put nightshades like belladonna and datura in the paint. They would burn them up and use the ashes. They would use poppy oil to paint with instead of walnut or linseed. They would use poppy oil. So these types of things imbued additional intoxicating mystic powers into the art. And then they had other techniques as well for the back of the painting. And so they would put on the back of the painting additional things that would empower the whole painting. In the case of this particular book, they would do the front image in negative. So I'm really curious about that, and I'm going to try it for my new painting to see if I can get some additional enlivening out of it. This is a spirit that I dreamt about, but also is, historically very powerful throughout Ireland and has some real attributes and domains that she rules over. So I'm excited about the next steps on this. I was going to take a minute to show you my other books about art magic, and I'll go into more detail on them in other videos because I want to give you an opportunity to see the other stages of my painting. But we'll be talking a little about Lux Heresis, and it's by my favorite author, Daniel Schulke. I'm really proud of this volume. It's one of the, I think it's the second grimoire that I was able to buy. They're very expensive, and this one was about $200. And I call it my prom dress because it's this beautiful satin color and this beautiful satin fabric. So I just got my lipstick on. I got my lipstick on, which makes it even more of a prom dress, but you know, that's what happens when you actually work with these books. They don't stay perfect. And this one is very special to me because it's signed by the author, and blessed to me based off of a spirit that is part of the book. And there's some really cool art in the book, so we'll talk about that one more later. And then another one that's very special is written by the artist himself, Salvador Dali. And there's some things very special about this grimoire, which is a grimoire. It's called 50 Secrets of Magic Craftsmanship. And so it'll be an opportunity for me to talk about those. I'll just flash a picture for you so that you know what we're going to be getting into later. So, thanks for a little moment with me in my art bedroom studio. I'm again Sara Star at spiritscraft.com. Spiritscraft out.